Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the opening action on the D Street. Remember, the pre-open trades are already indicating a start above 16 points, 23,770 right now, but it's been volatile right from the pre-open tick as we've been seeing. Remember, yesterday, after 5 days of a sell-off on the D Street, there was a sigh of relief. The Christmas week started on a good cheer note as well. We did had a gap up start and then therefore a narrow band of ranging trade as well. A lot of these heavyweights like ITC, HDFC Bank, Reliance Industries contributed to the Nifty's recovery yesterday. Let's see whether all of those are also pointing out to a positive start today. So let's pull up some of the heavyweight counters right there. RIL hasn't moved up right yet, but let's look at HDFC Bank, a flattish with a positive bias trade, still at 1802. Let's also pull up some of the other stocks like ITC, for instance, that moved up yesterday, to see whether there is a second day of a continuation move on that one. Just about a mild 0.1% of a tick on the higher side. There are several stocks that you should be definitely watching out for. Oberoi Realty is something that I'm looking at. That's signed an agreement for 81 acres in Alibag, and this will be used for high-end luxury projects to be created there, 1.2% higher, 2290. We'll also keep an eye out on the telecom stocks, so keep an eye out on Bharti Airtel, for instance. The entire subscriber additions news has come in, and of course, apart from that, TRAI has now recommended telecom companies to now dole out also plans without data. That's something that's not been happening. We'll see how that really pans out. So the telecom stocks will also be in focus. Apart from this, we can also keep an eye out on TVS Motor. The acquisition of 39.1% stake of DriveX Mobility is something that will keep the stock in focus. Mild positive for that one as well. Apart from this, we can also keep an eye out on ONGC and Oil India. Remember, Brent crude has slipped below $73 a barrel, so we'll have to keep an eye out on the entire oil and gas space. Flattish with a positive bias on that one as well. So, a whole host of these stocks will be in focus. Let's also get our guest on board. We have Vineet Bulinchkar, the head of research at Ventura Securities, now joining in. Warm welcome to you, Vineet, and thank you so much for taking the time out. It's a truncated week of action. Even though it started out positive, there are signs of volatility as well. And of course, we are heading into the last expiry of 2024 as well. In this last week, what is it that you are advising your clients at this point in time to do, and how are you preparing for the upcoming new year?
So, I think there is a broad consensus in the market that, things are uh, pretty hunky-dory despite the negative news sentiment that is flowing in. And it is expected that the markets through December and early part of January will be reverberating positively, and they will be taking cues further from what Trump does or says,
Yes.
around the 20th of Jan when the policies actually start coming out. So it is uh, my expectation that the market will gathers, move more or less sideways and then move up. And but what is going to happen is that come 10th of Jan, we're going to have the result season take precedence. And we've seen some early signs of slowdown. So, the result season would not be very, very encouraging, and we need to see how things will pan out. So I believe that it possibly the market could be a little sideways to flattish to rising in the month of January.
Okay. Now, Vineet, the other thing that we want to discuss with you is in terms of the key sectors that one should be keeping a keen eye out on for the new year 2025. Have you identified any sectors which perhaps have not had a run up in 2024 and are now gearing up to move up with the new macro trends that will be developing? Of course, the budget will be another trigger apart from the earnings that we'll be looking at as well. What are the top 2 or 3 key sectors that are on top of your radar now?
So some of the most important trends is that the previous trends of last year will, I think, continue going ahead. Uh, I think the data center theme, electrification, pharmaceuticals, IT stocks, these will continue to play out, and the market is going to be more bottom up than sector specific.
Okay.
EMS will continue to do well. So these are some of the sectors that I think are you should be focusing your energy.
Okay, markets have settled in the pre-open. Let me just quickly reiterate what is the kind of move that we are seeing. 23,769, and that's the indicative opening for the Nifty today. Real estate sector again seems to be in the positive zone, 0.3% higher. IT, Pharma also seem to be picking up pace today. Broader markets, which had seen mixed trade yesterday, are also seeing some gains come in, but the metals, consumer durables and private banks could be starting on the back foot. BEL seems to be higher. Adani Ports, Coal India, Trent, these are some of the stocks that could be opening in the positive zone. Let's discuss the defense pack right here, Vineet, with you. Of course, there is the pre-budget positioning trigger that we've also discussed previously, but also Elara Capital has come out with its top picks, including HAL on the defense space, higher targets that they have given for BDL, for HAL as well as Garden Reach as well. They also believe that defense capex is set to be met in 2025 and the order flow is expected to rise sharply in Q4 FY25 as well. How are you looking at the defense space right now and specific stocks within this space?
Very positive on the defense space. BDL, HAL are two of my top picks. Uh, we also like the drone manufacturer Zen, uh, you know, and these are stocks which will go places in the coming year.
Okay. In fact, we also have Osho Krishan, Senior Research Analyst, Technical and Derivatives at Angel One, now joining in on the panel discussion. Warm welcome to you, Osho, and good morning to you as well. Tell us for today, what are you keeping a keen eye out on? How should one trade the Nifty and the Nifty Bank?
Very good morning, Sakshi. Firstly, thank you for having me in your show. Well, for benchmark index, there is still tentativeness that is being seen in the counter. No doubt, we have seen a kind of a breather in yesterday's trading session, and it is also an inside bar candle. So, ultimately, technicality is something that from here onwards, there can be some kind of positive momentum that can be seen. But until we cross the zone of the bearish gap on the higher end, which is approximately around the zone of 24,000, 24,150, until that time, the any bounces could be seen as an opportunity to exit long positions, and even for aggressive traders can be seen as an opportunity to go short in the market. So for now, 23,850 and 870 is the zone where we are witnessing a very strong resistance in the intraday. So any bounce towards the zone of 850, 870 should be seen as an opportunity to short the benchmark index. While on the lower end, 23,600 to 23,580 is a kind of a short-term support for Nifty. So buy on dips and sell on rise is the approach that one should definitely have in intraday session. For Bank Nifty, again, for Bank Nifty also, we are having the same kind of a view. On the higher end, 51, 500, 600 is the zone where we can see some kind of resilience. While on the lower end, 51,000 is a very strong support. So buy on the dips should be the apt approach, while any bounce could be seen as an opportunity to exit the long positions.
Okay, any key stocks then, Osho, that you're keeping on your top radar? We'll in fact look at the markets first and come back to you, Osho, on that one. 23,755, that's the opening level for the Nifty. It's flat with a positive bias of an open. The Nifty Bank also opens at 51,357, 0.08% higher. Volatile start for the markets right now. There's also a mixed trade as far as the sectors are concerned. Realty in the positive zone. IT also opening up positive. Oil and gas, and apart from that, financial services also opening in the positive zone, but rest of the sectors seem to be opening on the back foot. Metals, pharma, consumer durables, lower by about 0.2, 0.3% each. But what's doing well on the Nifty? You have Adani Enterprises, that's half odd percent higher. BEL, that's opening half odd percent too. Bharti Airtel, that's opening half a percent up. Tata Motors is also up. Remember, there's news flow that we read out as well of the acquisition news. That's also putting up the stock. But most part of the Nifty is in fact lower in trade. On the F&O space, you have KEI Industries, Steel Authority, India Mart Intermesh and MGL opening in the positive zone. Let's look at the heavyweight counters. Let's see what Reliance Industries is doing. Remember, yesterday it did support the sentiments for the markets, and of course Reliance Industries will be reacting to what TRAI has recommended in terms of the new tariff plans and the new plans that should be doled out by the companies right there. Flattish with a negative bias, 1221 is the current level for Reliance Industries. Apart from that, Bharti Airtel we've already seen is in the positive zone. Let's look at how the banks are opening. HDFC Bank, remember yesterday it did support the sentiments too. Let's see whether there's a second day of support coming in. Absolutely flat at 1803. We'll see how it goes. Let's also pull up ICICI Bank. IndusInd Bank has been coming up over the last few days. So let's see whether that has moved up. Absolutely flat trade right there. There are no two ways about it with the kind of move that's coming in. Let's pull up the IT names as well. Infosys, TCS, Wipro. Let's look at those heavyweight counters as well to see if there is momentum coming in on all of those stocks too. Infosys flattish with a positive bias at 1925 odd levels, just about 0.07% higher. TCS also 0.3% up at 4170 right now. That's the kind of opening that we are seeing. Let's look at the broader markets to see if there are some strong names that are coming in on the higher side. Kohinoor Foods is something that you could look at, probably 11% higher. Sundaram breaks for the second day in a row. Remember yesterday it was at a 20% circuit, 8% higher for this one as well. And then you also have stocks like EPAC Durable that's been consistently on the move, 5% higher. BGR Energy Systems 5% higher in trade. MIC Electronics is 5% higher in trade as well. Then you also have Usha Martin that's up by about 4.5%. What else is moving up? Not much that we can really talk about at this point in time on the broader markets. Let's look at the Nifty 50, next 50 names. GAIL is pulling up 0.7% higher. From the FMCG space, it's Dabur that's also seeing some gains come in. United right here. Avenue Supermarts is moving up. Indigo's gains can be seen on this. Geo Financial Services, PFC, but very far and few between and very slight gains that are coming in. Let's get back to Vineet to understand how the situation is panning out. Vineet, on the one hand, geopolitical tensions cooling off and therefore you are looking at crude oil prices also pulling down as well. How are you looking at the entire oil and gas scenario back home in India? Which is the segment of the oil and gas that you prefer right now? Is it the gas space, the city gas distributors? Would you stick around with the OMCs itself? What exactly is on your top radar here?
I think within the gas segment, OMCs and GAIL appear to be positive stocks to look at. You know, the GST regime is just not finding palate with the states, and that since it is out of the window, I think the stocks that I just mentioned to you should do really well. Continue to be positive on BPCL and GAIL.
Okay, got that. So that's the view that's coming in as far as the oil and gas space is concerned. 0.3% higher for the index. GAIL is definitely one of the top movers there. 1% higher for GAIL. So we can keep an eye out on what Vineet has mentioned within the oil and gas space. Gas Authority is something that you should definitely look at. HAL, BEL both are up and about in trade. Concor is also buzzing in trade as well. We did speak to Vineet about defense. Let's get in Osho's view right here. Osho, defense space. What are you keeping an eye out on right now?
See, from defensive space, majority of the counter have seen a very decent correction from the higher levels, and now they are into a very comfortable zone on the technical parameters. So counters like HAL, Bharat Dynamics, Paras, all these counters are looking very lucrative from medium to long term perspective, because there has been a kind of trend reversal in these counters, and from here onwards, going forward, we can expect a decent movement. For HAL, we have already seen a decent traction from the zone of nearly 4,000 towards the zone of 4,800 approximately. And again, in the last four trading session, it has again corrected towards the zone of 4,200. So this is again providing an opportunity to reaccumulate this counter for higher target of, for short term, approximately 4,750 to 4,800. But the time it surpasses the zone of 4,800, then we can see a drastic up move towards the zone of 100 levels also. So overall, the technical structure for these counters are very positive, and one should definitely try to accumulate these counters at current levels.
Okay, got that. Let's look at a few more stocks that are buzzing in the initial trade. Sagility, that's up by about 4.4%. Remember, there's a brokerage house report that has pulled up the stock higher. And in fact, what you do see is that the stock is now up by about 4%. We'll keep an eye out on that. Tata Motors is buzzing in trade about 0.5% higher. PG Electroplast is something that's buzzing in trade. Greaves Cotton is opening higher from the broader markets. MobiKwik, let's look at this one. This has been consistently moving on the higher side from the last few days. Again, after the listing, again up about 2%. HG Infra is another one that's buzzing in the broader markets too. So those are some of the stocks that are buzzing. But let's get Vineet on one MobiKwik Systems and the entire space. Vineet, I want to ask you, between Paytm and MobiKwik, how are you navigating through how the stock prices have been moving? For Paytm also, it's a 3 times jump from its lows for this year that we've seen so far. For MobiKwik, right the time that it got listed, it has been giving substantial returns. What is it that you are identifying between these two players as a strategy to look at these?
No, I think you should be invested in both the stocks, and because the space is growing very rapidly, and both are market leaders in terms of their payment and reach, and the number of customers that they have. So I personally believe that your portfolio should have a portion of both these stocks. We have done full scale research on Paytm. We think the price target should be around 1350. MobiKwik, we have not done adequate research to give you a price target,
Sure.
but common sense tells you that you should be invested in both these stocks since this entire space is doing really well.
Okay, got that. IT is picking up further pace, 0.3% higher. TCS has moved to the top spot on the Nifty right now. It's up about 0.7 odd percent right here. Let's look at some of the other winners that are joining its band. Mphasis, LTI Mind. That's where the buzz is. Osho, would you chase the momentum in the IT pack today?
See, overall, there is a kind of hesitancy that can be seen in the IT pack overall because last day also when the US markets were quite positive on the weekend, even after that also the IT counters have gained some kind of momentum in the early trades and after that they have fizzled out all the momentum. So I won't be very much aggressive chasing the momentum for consecutive days. Once there will be some kind of a stability that can be seen in majority of the counters, then definitely one can try to look for buying opportunity because major of the mid cap IT companies have seen a very drastic plunge from the consolidation level. So those can be seen as an opportunity to accumulate, but better to wait for 1 to 2 days more because if there will be some kind of consolidation or stability that will be coming back in these counters, then definitely one can try to accumulate from short term perspective.
Okay. The other space that's buzzing is the FMCG space. And I want, Vineet, your views right here. Britannia is moving higher now, 0.8% up. We also have Dabur that's up by over a percent. Marico, Colgate, ITC moved up yesterday and that's pulled up the entire space higher. But now we do know this has been the most disappointing sector for 2024. It's not made money for investors at all. Even when there was an expectation that there is a lot of overvaluation in the markets and investors will turn more defensive, there was a very brief period when the FMCG space outperformed. It's been, lying low after that as well. There has no clear trend been identified in this space as well, which could give investors the confidence to go big on FMCG. What is your expectation here for the new year? Would you be positive on this?
I would tend to go with a slight contra view out here and expect that the consumption would come back. So I think we've seen a slow movement out here, and I was speaking to a couple of the QSRs, and they seemed very positive that things would play out well. One was Domino's, that is Jubilant, and the other was the restauranting chain, which is Specialty Foods. So they kind of seem quite positive on the markets, and I think that we could see some, positive trends playing out here.
Okay. Osho, bringing you in on FMCG, any key stocks that one should chase the momentum in?
See, for the day or for a very short-term perspective, Marico is looking very positive on the technical charts. It has emerged above the short-term moving averages and it is gaining some decent traction in the last two trading sessions. So I expect the time it goes beyond the zone of 645, which is nearly it's done now. So we can see there can be a continuation towards the zone of 665 on a very immediate term basis. So this counter is looking positive for the day and one can definitely try to chase momentum but with a very strict stop loss of 632. for high upper target of nearly 665 followed by 670 for intraday or for maybe as a BTST kind of opportunity.
Okay, got that. So that's the view that's coming in on the FMCG space. Let's again look at some of the other moving parts where we can look at some moves on the positive side. Auto space. Let's get Vineet right here. Vineet, auto space, we do know, like you were pointing out in the FMCG space, here also there was a muted consumption demand as far as festive season was concerned. Especially in the urban areas, we've seen slowdown in consumption. We've seen heavy discounting in the latter part of 2024 by a lot of marquee players. Now, starting 1st January, there will be price hikes as is the norm. But do you see things coming back to shape for the entire auto space? Are there still just about stocks or maybe segments that you are picking and choosing from because you believe there will be a demand skewed factor that one should look at? Or do you believe it's auto ancillaries that you should play this theme with? How are you looking at it?
So, my pick in this sector is going to be your Ola Electric.
Okay.
I think they're putting out 4,000 distribution points. They're dropping prices, and I think that should bode well for market share gains and market share sustenance. Uh, Volume growth will come through, and the entire electric space and scooters is really picking up quite nicely. And here you have a very, very focused play on electric. So I think this is one stock that will do really well. Overall, I think the sector is going to be muted. Mahindra's might outperform, but overall, I think the sector is going to go through a little bit of turmoil because we've seen the space of CV and the PVs having peaked out and they're in their down cycle right now. And I expect this down cycle to last for another year, a year and a half.
Okay, got that. Osho motors for you specifically. Today just about 1% higher, but we do know how it has been underperforming. It was not able to cross the 800 hurdle for a long time. It's now further slipped lower and it's trading below 730 odd levels. What is it that you are looking at on the charts right here? Will there be some more time when investors will need to see this very narrow band of trade continuing on Tata Motors?
See, for Tata Motors, the counter has been into a very steep correction from the zone of 1100. There has been no respite and there has been no recovery for a single period also. So currently looking at the trend, it's better to stay sidelines. Only once it surpasses the zone of 770, which is approximately 50 points from here onwards, then only one can look for buying opportunity in this counter. Then because there are two major developments, one that we are witnessing a positive divergence of the price action with the technical indicators. But still, I am not very much aggressive. I do not want to be very much aggressive in this counter and will wait for it to confirm, give a confirmation above the closing of 770. Then one can definitely try to accumulate this counter from short to medium term perspective. That can be seen as a trend reversal in this counter. But for now, it is just a falling knife and one should not try to catch this counter as of.
Okay, got that. So there you have it. Avoid at this point in time. That's the view that's coming in. Vineet, I want to also understand from you. We've been understanding that in 2025, the strategies that investors have to adopt, the key focus areas that they should have as well. But are there any areas where you would want investors to completely avoid looking and stay away from as well? What are the vulnerable sectors that could continue to drag portfolios and therefore one should stay away?
I think it would be largely autos, I think, that one should avoid being invested in. As I said, the cycle is going to play down.
Yeah.
So that is one sector which I will be avoiding right now.
Okay, avoid autos in 2025. That's the view that's coming in on that front. You know what else is buzzing? Let me just pull up a few names then. PSU banks. That's something that is showing us some strength. Indian Bank, PNB, Punjab Sind Bank, UCO Bank and Indian Overseas Bank is coming up a little bit. But the market breadth is now turned negative. Even the Nifty is down 23,753, flattish with a negative bias. So you do see a lot of pressure that's building up. Of course, tomorrow is a truncated holiday and therefore you do see some of the weakness that's coming in. But let's look at the broader markets to see if there is any interesting name that we can come up with to get Osho as well as Vineet's views on that. Tips Films, another 15% higher. Vineet, have you looked at how Tips Films has been continuously catapulting higher in this year, especially last few weeks and months? What's behind this kind of a move? We rarely discuss this stock.
Uh, Tips Films has done little well on the markets because of good content of recently, and I think they have some good launches coming through. We have coverage on the stock. We have a buy rating on it, and we think that the stock should do well going ahead.
Okay, got that. Let's pull up a few other stocks as well, where even okay, Osho can answer. Donier Industries is another one that's 9% higher in trade. Osho, you must have noticed how textiles have been continuously showing us some strong moves. It was Raymond's earlier, and then followed by Gokul Das Exports, a lot of these other textile names that kept on creating Donier. How are you looking at this space? Does it look interesting to you from a trader's perspective particularly?
See, overall, these counters are not very much having some very much liquid in nature. So, if there will be some kind of strong traction coming in these counters, then there can be a huge movement in overall these counters. So, I expect for Donier also till now there has been approximately 4 lakh kind of a quantity that has been traded in this counter. But overall, I stay away or stay silent from such companies where we have low liquidity. So overall, for momentum, if someone is already holding the position, then one can stay intact with their position. On the higher end, 185.90 should be seen as the immediate target in this counter, while on the lower end, the support is approximately around the zone of 150. But for fresh buying, the counter have already seen a very huge surge from the zone of 100 towards 170. So better to stay sidelines. If someone is already holding the position, stay intact with your investments for higher targets of 185.
Okay, got that. I think pharma and healthcare is also buzzing in trade. Granules is up by 2.2%. It's among the top movers in the F&O space as well. Then you also have names like Biocon, Sun Pharma. Slight gains can be seen on this one. Let's get Vineet on the entire pharma healthcare pack. Today, Solara Active Pharma Sciences is up by about 9%. You have healthcare global that's also buzzing in trade as well. Vineet, pharma, healthcare, diagnostics, hospitals chains, how are you navigating through these segments right now? Where do you think outperformance can come in within the pharma and healthcare pack in the new year?
So diagnostics look very good. I think they're undervalued. Good growth coming in. They settled down now with the uh, various issues that were plaguing them in the past. And diagnostic is getting very broad based, especially with insurance, becoming a necessity and everyone having to. And, practically today you go to a doctor, if you say you got catch in your back, he'll tell you to do an MRI or a CAT scan. It's become as easy as that. So I think that the diagnostic space will be doing very well going ahead. Uh, we like Krishna Diagnostics, as I've told you. The stock has come off since its highs, but I definitely think that this stock should do well going ahead. Other stocks that come to mind are Lalpath Labs. Metropolis has also done a recent acquisition. And Vijay Diagnostics down south, regional player, but doing really extremely well out there.
Okay, Vineet, we have to thank you, but before thanking you, I have to ask you if there was one or two stocks that you had to advise or gift as a Christmas present to all our viewers, what would you share?
So I think Krishna Diagnostics is my stock for 25.
Okay, Krishna Diagnostics. We'll keep an eye out on that one as well. And you all know how viewers, Vineet has consistently given us some marquee names within this entire 2024 year, where investors have made a lot of money. Markson's Pharma is one of them that I remember on top of the radar, which has turned out to be a multi-bagger for all the investors spotted it pretty early, and it's been continuously buzzing as well. And now Krishna Diagnostics is something that we will definitely look at. Thank you so much, Vineet, and wish you well. Christmas greetings to you. Very happy New Year as well on the upcoming zone, and we will see you more often in 2025 to get you all to get all your insights on the markets. Thank you so much. All right, we'll continue our discussion with Osho then, viewers. Osho, let's anything that you've spotted, probably first 15-20 minutes of candle is out. Anything that you've spotted in the markets today?
See, overall for the day, there is momentum in FMCG space only. So from FMCG, Dabur is looking positive, Marico is looking positive. So such counters are looking positive for the day, and catch the momentum or ride the momentum for the day in these counters only, because as of now, even though Nifty is holding around the zone of 23,700, but majority of the advanced decline are very much in line with the bears for the timing. So I expect that one should not be very much aggressive in the trade, but for the day, if there is some kind of momentum that is being seen, then FMCG is the space where we are witnessing a decent movement. So accordingly, one can get their intraday positions in FMCG space.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as the FMCG space is concerned. Of course, Dabur is the one that's buzzing 1% higher, and the entire space is also showing us some traction. You have Godrej Consumer Products that's also buzzing in trade, and many such counters that are also pulling up right here. Let us again look at some of the other pockets where we can actually pull up some spaces. Banks is something that we can discuss with you, Osho. Especially on the NBFC front, which in the latter part of 2024 did show us a lot of traction. The AMC stocks, the wealth creating stocks as well. Today also, you know, some of the stocks are in the buzzing zone, like a Poonawalla FinCorp or a Fed Bank or a GIC Housing. From the capital market stocks, there is Edelweiss that has substantially moved up this year so far. Nuvama, all of these stocks are also buzzing. So this from the larger NBFC space, anything that catches your attention?
From these space of wealth companies, Anand Rathi is one of the sector which has seen very strong. Anand Rathi is one of the company which has seen very drastic upsurge in the recent period, and it is at a very strong consolidation zone as of now. So we are witnessing that as it is at approximately around the lower zone of the band that it has been hovering, approximately 3,800 is a very strong support for this counter. So from here onwards, if it reverts back, then again it can retest the zone of 4350 to 4400 in the short term period, and 4400 being a very crucial resistance. The time it breaches above 4400 on a weekly closing basis, then we can see a continuation of a higher trend in this counter for nearly target of 4800 in medium term time frame. So this counter can be definitely be seen or can be kept in the watch list for short to medium term time frame. And apart from it, many other counters, NBFC space, have seen a decent correction, and some further downside room is still pending in major of the NBFC heavyweight counters. So one should wait for the momentum to fizzle out on the downside, and then can start accumulating those shares from medium to long term perspective.
Okay, got that. So we'll keep an eye out on this entire space as well as the key stocks that have been suggested to all of you by Osho. Okay, FNO space, again some counters that are coming up on my radar. Hindustan Copper, that's something that is buzzing about 2.5-3% higher, even though the entire metal space seems to be falling behind, about 0.8% lower in trade. Again, there's a lot of volatility in the metals pack. First on Hind Copper and the overall metal space for you, Osho. How would you approach it?
See, firstly, for Hind Copper, this counter has been into a lower trend, has been making a cycle of lower highs, lower lows in the recent
Okay.
period, and currently it is hovering just at a very strong support near the zone of 265. On the higher end, it is having a resistance around 295, 298 kind of a zone. So until we see a breakthrough from this range of 260 to 290 or 95 kind of a zone, till that one can definitely have an approach of buy the dips and sell on the rise, and if there will be any kind of breakthrough, then accordingly one should have their outlook in this counter. And coming to the overall metal space, majority of the heavyweights are looking very positive. Some of them are at a very strong support zone also. For example, Tata Steel is at a very strong support levels. It is on the once we match the sloping trend line or the inclining trend line, then it is at a very strong support zone. and it can be seen that the zone of nearly 135 to 132 is a very strong support for this counter, and any kind of reversal from these levels above the zone of 150 can provide a very strong thrust in the coming period. So one should definitely keep radar in heavyweights like Tata Steel and JSW Steel, because these counters are looking very lucrative, having a very strong risk reward point of view, and one can expect a decent move in the coming period. So these two counters, Tata Steel and JSW Steel, can be seen from short to medium term time frame.
Okay, so that's as far as the metals pack is also concerned right here. The market breadth is towards the weaker side. You have 1208 stocks on the NSE, which is on the declining side, whereas 1045 stocks on the positive side. But at this point in time, are there any other interesting names that are coming up? Let me just look at the broader markets. Astron paper is up about 5%. Then you have some more stocks that are pulling up. Let me just see. You have Asian hotels that's also pulling up. Tata Investment Corporation is up by 10 odd percent. That's buzzing in trade. Apart from that, Sagility we have already marked, it's 5% higher. EPAC Durable we've marked already. BGR Energy Systems, that's also we've marked something 5% higher in that front. TCI Finance, that's also buzzing in trade today, 5% higher. These are some of the stocks within the broader markets that are pulling up. Nifty Next 50, are there any other names? Pidilite, that's up by about 1%. You also have ABB, that's buzzing. Avenue Supermarts, some pullback is coming on this space as well, but nothing very substantial really coming up in these pockets right there. Today, apart from oil and gas, autos, IT, PSU banks and slight gains in the media spaces, rest all of the sectors have slipped. So metals are down, financial services are down, Nifty Bank overall is down 0.3%, mid caps are also down in trade, you have small caps that are dragged as well. But actually, let's look at the broader markets, the mid and the small caps, where there is some interest coming in. Some of the stocks I've already marked, like Poonawalla Fincorp and Solar Industries. In fact, we can discuss the renewable energy space, which we haven't touched upon today. Osho, SW Solar, Solar Industries, the entire solar space and the renewable energy space. Again, do you think that this is the space which will be up for grabs right ahead of the budget, and therefore investors must not skip this space at least? At least if somebody is a short-term trader for the next 1-2 months or 3 months odd, this is the space to be in?
See, overall, as of now, the trend for these counters are not very much convincing, but definitely from a budget point of view, or for a coming 3 to 4 months point of view, one can definitely try to accumulate these counters from a kind of a higher momentum or higher movement. But as of now, there has been no convincing moves for now. So it will be something for SW Solar near about 480 or 400 or 500 odd zone will be the apt approach or the apt levels where one can try to accumulate these counter for a higher movement towards the zone of 625 to 50 in the coming period. But as of now, there is no such momentum or no such technicality which is providing a very strong support in these counters. So I expect that there can be a decent move, but one can wait for a kind of a decisive reversal in these counters, and then can look for opportunities to accumulate this counter.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as the solar and the renewable energy space is concerned. Again, from the broader markets, KFin Tech is moving up now about 4.5%. So you can definitely keep an eye out on that as well. That's buzzing in trade. Kohinoor Foods is now at a 20% circuit. Strong move coming in on this agri-related space. Osho, when we're talking about the pre-budget positioning, is agri-fertilizer space looking interesting as well? Do you think you've spotted any names there for investors to really look at?
See, overall, the whole space is very positive. There has been a decent movement in overall the fertilizer space, but from budget point of view, there can be some kind of movement that one can expect in outperformers like Jumbo Fertilizer is already moving higher. Naveen Chlorine is also something that we can see that it can have a decent movement because it is hovering at the lower band of the support zone. So any breakthrough around above the zone of 3600 can be seen as an opportunity to accumulate this counter. So there are many counters which is looking very positive on the fertilizers and chemical space. Deepak Fertilizers have seen a decent correction from the highs of 1400 towards the zone of 1200 now. But if there will be any further correction of any further downside towards the zone of 1100, then again that should be seen as an opportunity to accumulate these counters for upcoming period of 3 to 4 months. So these counters are looking very positive. Any correction or any breakthrough can be seen as an opportunity to accumulate these counters.
All right. Okay, Osho, we have to thank you. But before that, just like how I pressed on to Vineet to talk about some of the stocks that you'd like to, probably share as a present to all our viewers for Christmas and the New Year as well. Which stocks have you identified for the New Year?
For the new year, or basically for budget, I am more focused on. So I am expecting a decent movement in the railway pack. So Jupiter Wagon is one of the counter which is looking very positive to me, and I am expecting a very decent surge in the coming period. It is hovering at a very strong support of above the zone of 500, and I am expecting that in the coming period, the counter has a potential to test the zone of 680 to 700. So one should definitely try to accumulate this counter. It is having a very strong risk reward portfolio, and I'm expecting that after the recent correction in this counter have seen a very strong comeback around the first or second week of December, and from there onwards one can expect a trend reversal for higher target of 680 to 700 on short to medium term time frame.
Okay, well, Osho, thank you so much then for sharing all these thoughts and ideas, strategies for all our investors as well. Thank you so much for being with us. 23,760 viewers on the Nifty, an absolute, volatile, flattish, narrow band kind of a range in the first 45 minutes odd. You did see about, 8-point uptick. The Nifty Bank is falling flat with a negative bias, 0.2% lower at 51,200. Will this improve for the better, or will this turn more volatile? Remember, tomorrow is a holiday in the markets, and then therefore we see the expiry pressures also building up. So there could be some more volatility. Brace up for that. For sure, there is one thing that's missed, and that's the long-term Santa cheer that's come in. But let's hope probably that comes in towards the year end or at the beginning of the new year as well. But stay tuned on to Business Today Television. Like we've started off by sharing with you top market masters' views on the upcoming new year, the strategies that you need to follow. This is the space that you need to watch out. We are going to be having several special shows throughout the course of the day to help you understand what is it that you should focus on in the new year with respect to your investments. Stay tuned with us on Business Today. Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra, and this is the year-end special edition on Business Today and on Market Today as well. It's that time of the year when all of us are bracing up for Santa to finally come to town, spread some Christmas cheer, and usher in good joys for our personal as well as professional lives for the upcoming new year as well. This is also the time when we look back to see what are the key learnings